Hey guys, Peter here to do an album review. Today I'm here to talk to you guys about Monkey3 and their brand new album Sphere, out April 12 on Napalm Records. The album has 6 tracks and it's 52 minutes in length. The best way I can describe the overall experience of sitting down and listening to this record is the mind of Luke Skywalker if he was on acid. I think this is the best possible way that I can describe the sound, the experience, what it meant to me to sit down and listen to this record from one song to the last song. It was really a journey through space and time. I really felt connected with the record. I really felt that the record embraces you as the listener, and then it just holds you by its hand, and then it just takes you on this journey. A journey that by no ways is linear. It's not an album that sounds blended, and what I mean by that is not every song sounds the same, so they don't all blend into one big song. It's an album that has a lot of life and a lot of dynamics within it. Each song is very different from each other. Each song offers a different perspective, offers a different tempo, a different flavor, if you will. The one common denominator throughout the whole record is really that psychedelic, sci-fi, traveling through space and time vibe that you really get from listening to this album. That is perhaps the thread that connects every single song on the record, and that allows the record to have songs that are very different, they're very unique from each other, while still feeling like they're all really interconnected. That's really important. So I really felt that listening to this album. I really felt that the album combined psychedelic rock with stoner rock with progressive metal. There's a lot of different genres and influences at play going into a record that sounds as dynamic, as fluid, as progressive, if you will, as this album really sounds. I really like the life that they gave the songs, how they change certain songs. They're very linear, but then there's certain songs that are constantly changing direction, constantly turning left, turning right. You're really never sure exactly where the song is going, but even though you're not sure where the songs are going, you always feel comfortable within it. You always find a sense of peace and relaxation within each single song on the record. The more I listened to the album, the more I felt that there were some influences at play, heavy influences at play. I felt a little bit of Pink Floyd in it, and as well as Jean-Michel Jarre, specifically on the keyboard side of things. I really feel like these two artists heavily influenced the sound, but more than the sound, the way the record comes across to the listener, the way it's structured, the way the songs are put together, the way it sounds, and the way they're all interconnected with that one single thread combining them all. I really felt this about the record, and the more I listened to it, the more it confirmed those feelings. Now, from a guitarist perspective, I absolutely love the melodies that they did on this record. The guitar work on this album is absolutely delicious. I loved it. It added sometimes a psychedelic vibe to it, sometimes a more dark, melancholic vibe. The guitar work on this record is really diverse. It really allows the songs to come to life. It almost gives meaning to the songs. The guitar work on this album comes to life with every single note. The other aspect was the keyboards. I really enjoyed the keyboard melodies. I really enjoyed what the keyboards brought to the songs, and more important, I really like what they did as far as combining the melody of the guitars and the keyboards to really emphasizing the flavor of the songs. When they really wanted the song to have a more melancholic mood, the two of them came together with similar melodies and worked together in order to really enhance that flavor that the song had. When they wanted the song to be a little bit more psychedelic, a little bit more sci-fi, if you will, the same thing. The two really worked off each other, really feeding one off the other in order to allow the song to have melody, but still have that blanket of melancholy, or in this case, of psychedelic nature. So when one would become perhaps more melodic, the other one would carry that torch, that psychedelic torch, if you will, and so forth. And they would trade spots. When one would come up, the other one would go back down. They did a really wonderful job mixing the keyboards with the guitars, because to me, those two were the main components that gave life to this record, as far as the overall atmosphere and the sound, but also the direction of where the album was going. Now, as far as songs are concerned, I'm going to start with Spirals. That is the album opener, and that's pretty much where your journey starts. The synth work on this track is absolutely amazing, as it is with every other song on the record. but on this specific song, it really gives the song a real psychedelic sci-fi vibe. It really comes predominantly from the keyboards on this specific track. It almost gives the song a space odyssey kind of feel to it. You almost feel like you're traveling through time and space. It really gives you a sense of moving without going anywhere. It's really well put together. The guitars also add a vibe, but they add a different vibe. The guitars on this song really alternate two different distinctive sounds. It really has a little bit of a stoner rock sound to it, a more heavier riff sound to it, and then it changes every so often, it changes to a more psychedelic rock sound. So here you have a keyboard melody that stays pretty much constant in terms of the atmosphere that it gives to the track, but you have the guitars really changing the mood as the song progresses. This is a song that's extremely dynamic. It really changes as it goes along. It never has a constant period. It never feels like the way it starts is the way it ends. It changes every so often. It turns you to a loop. It just gives you something else. It gives you something else to look at. It's constantly evolving. That's perhaps the best way to describe Spirals. A really dynamic song, a really great song to introduce you to the record, because it's really where your journey starts. And it's a song that's very dynamic, that has a really high tempo to it, that has a lot of different components, and that has enough to really grip you for the rest of the journey that is this album. The next song that I want to talk about is Axis. This has a very mellow intro. This song is much different from Spirals. This is the second song on the record. Much different style, much different song. While Spirals kind of feels like it's taking you on a high, this one, Axis, kind of feels like it's bringing you on a downer. It's almost like one is getting you high and the other one is the end of that high. So that's kind of like how these two songs really worked well together, coming one off the other. So even from that perspective, they really placed them perfectly on the record, because it really feels, as Spirals ends and this one starts, that there is a sense of continuation. The song has a much slower tempo. It almost feels at times, this is a really strange song, because at times when you're listening to it, it almost feels like the song is moving backwards, almost like it's playing in reverse. It's not, but the way it's put together, the way it's structured throughout, it really has a dark, melancholic vibe to it, almost a feeling of slumber to it, and it feels that at certain points in time, it almost feels like you're seeing your life moving backwards, and the song is that soundtrack of you going backwards in time. It really has that sense to it. It's a song that has a lot of life to it, but the life is really built in it. It doesn't really come across in terms of a fast tempo or changes of direction. The life of this song is really how it feels to the listener and how it transports you, but it feels like it's transporting you back in time, not forward like Spirals did. Now, this song, in the midway point, there's a killer guitar solo that is a blast of fresh air that just hits you in the face from that slumber that the song has. That solo really breaks that darkness that the song has, that sense of melancholy that the song has. That solo is really a blast of fresh air, really breaks that routine. It really elevates the song, and it gives you something different. It gives you a change. It gives you a little bit of a different look, if you will, to this track. I really enjoyed that guitar solo, absolutely phenomenal. Last but not least, Ida. This is another melancholic song that has a great melody to start off. Once it gets heavier, once the guitars kick in and they get a little bit heavier, it really feels like it's growing on you. It's a song that feels like it gains volume as it progresses. Much different from the previous two. This song has a different atmosphere to it. It really, in my mind, this song really represents loneliness and emptiness. Almost as if you were traveling through empty space. If you were alone in space and it's all dark and black around you, and you kind of lose the sense of time or the sense of continuity, you don't know where the beginning or end is. This song is kind of the musical representation of that. I really felt that listening to this song. That darkness, that sense of emptiness that you feel like you're traveling through, not knowing where you started and where you're going to end, it's really embracing. This is my favorite song on the record. I really felt embraced by this track. I really felt lost in it, the same way you would be lost in a dark space, not knowing where the top, bottom, beginning, or end is. This song has that vibe to it and is really embracing. So once it gets you, you really feel taken by it, and you could totally see this being the musical representation of that space and time. I love this album. I love Sphere. I love what it did. I love how it sounds. I love how they put it together. I love the structure of it. Really well put together record from beginning to end. I love the journey that it took me on. I'm not a big fan of instrumental albums. This one was very different because it spoke to me without using any words, and that is what I was looking for from Monkey3 and the album Sphere. Let me know your thoughts on the comment section below. I'll be reading those and getting back to you. Take care, guys.